Joining me now to discuss the president's meeting with the German chancellor, as well as Secretary of State Tillerson's latest warnings against North Korea, former U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations, Fox News contributor, Ambassador John Bolton. Ambassador, good to have you with us. The president, first of all, meeting with Merkel, making it very clear his displeasure with her nation's policies, and the crises that the president obviously thinks she authored when it comes to refugees and illegal immigrants in her country. Your thoughts?
Well, look, I think it's important to have, as they say in diplomacy, full and frank discussions with your closest allies. I'm sure another element, of course, was the question of NATO members meeting the commitments they all voluntarily engaged in to spend 2% of their gross national product on defense, which Germany has not done for quite some time.
Hasn't even gotten close.
That's half of it in recent years. So, look, it's not to say that the fundamental interest of Germany and the United States have diverged. We've got administrations pursuing different policies. Merkel will face her electorate this fall, and we'll see what the outcome is.
And this meeting, anything positive about it that you can detect? Any direction forward here that is altered from what had been the status quo? Any progress at all in either moving to her nation's responsibilities for full 2% of the budget for NATO, her responsibilities to bring that trade deficit that we have with Germany into line, and to create some reciprocity between the two major trading partners?
Well, I think it's always a plus for Trump when he actually sits down with foreign leaders and has a conversation with them, because the media have caricatured him in many ways. I think when he gets in these bilateral discussions, his opposite numbers see he's a serious person, see he means what he says on some of these issues. And look, I don't overestimate the role of personal relationships among world leaders, but it is something. And so this was good to have the most powerful economy in Europe and the President of the United States sit down and talk. That is a plus, no doubt about it.
A plus, but not a plus that it shows up on the ledger. And this is what our president is interested in. He wants to see real progress on these issues. And to his great credit, President Trump is sending strong messages to every world leader who happens to be enjoying a trade surplus with this country, that this is going to be changing and quickly.
And I think she knows that 2% of GNP on defense has a real meaning now.
Yeah, I think that's right. Let's turn to what is happening with Korea. Secretary of State Tillerson saying that strategic patience, if that could be called a strategy on the part of the Obama administration, is at an end, and that every option is on the table to forestall the development of any more nuclear weapons, if they are in possession of such, by the North Koreans, or any elevation in their ability to do harm in the world community with either the nuclear weapons or the ballistic missiles that they've developed.
Look, I think Secretary Tillerson's hitting home runs on this trip when it comes to North Korea's nuclear weapons program. The Obama doctrine of strategic patience was a synonym for doing nothing. He's thrown that into the trash can. He said quite correctly that over 2 decades of diplomacy with North Korea have not slowed them down in the slightest in their effort to get deliverable nuclear weapons, and he's made it plain in the statements you just quoted that the United States is not going to be endangered if North Korea continues to make progress. So I think this is important to send the signal to North Korea to reassure South Korea in the midst of a constitutional crisis, and also our friends in Japan. And tomorrow he goes to China.
Right.
And you can bet this is going to be a big subject of that discussion, too, appropriately so.
The Chinese, it seems to me, are trying to posture themselves, if you will, now, after various bellicose rhetoric, nonsensical warnings as if they were going to push around a superpower. And now they're trying to position themselves as a neutral force between two wayward children on the global stage, that is North Korea and the United States. It's pure balderdash. It is pure nonsense, and it is obvious nonsense to, I think, most of the world. Why is the United States now, for so long, we have accepted that China could choose to do nothing about North Korea. Now we realize that that's been an active and aggressive strategy on the part of China, not simply a benign neglect in foreign policy.
Well, I think President Trump hit a home run today, too, by saying North Korea has been playing us for a long time. It played the Clinton administration, it played the Bush administration, it played the Obama administration by saying, well, we don't want North Korea to have nuclear weapons, but not exercising the unique leverage that China has. I think the long-term solution here is reunifying the peninsula. I don't know that that's on the table in these discussions, but I'll tell you, the issue here is holding China to its own words. If they say they don't want North Korea to have nuclear weapons, they have the unique capacity to make that happen.
Well, they're not going to have nuclear weapons. President Trump has made that clear. They're just simply not going to advance beyond this point. The choice now will be Beijing's, I think it is accurate to say, as to whether or not this is done in a positive, productive, and progressive way. Unification would be one of those options. But for crying out loud, this president campaigned on smart government, and for the first time in, I think, as long as decades, we're seeing smart government under this administration, don't you?
Well, hats off to the President and Secretary Tillerson on this trip. I really think that they've signaled, not just in Northeast Asia, not just to Japan, South Korea, and China, that there's a new administration in Washington. I think people all over the world are looking at it, looking at the meeting with Chancellor Merkel, and are waking up, as many people in this country have not yet done, to the fact Hillary Clinton lost the election in November.
Yeah, I think that the look on Angela Merkel's face today said much. Ambassador, good to have you with us. Ambassador John Bolton.